I never imagined a simple moment would reveal a heartwarming bond that changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was a regular Tuesday. The sun shone brightly, but the warmth felt distant, cold against my skin. In that instant, I was grappling with reality, my heart pounding, my palms slick with clammy sweat. I stood frozen, breath hitching in my throat, feeling as though the ground had opened beneath my feet. That day, I was at the park, chasing shadows of a joy long forgotten. My younger sister, Lily, burst forth from the vibrant green grass, laughter spilling from her lips like sweet honey. But that laughter faded quickly, replaced by the familiar sound of discord echoing in my mind. I could see the carefree children around us, their joy palpable, yet my heart sank deeper, a sharp ache blooming. They ran, swung, and screamed, lost in their own world of bliss. I felt like an intruder watching from the edges, a ghost in their vibrant tapestry. Lily's little hand tugged at mine. "Come play." Her eyes sparkled, full of hope, and my heart twisted. I wanted to say yes. But memories of the fight I had with our parents hung heavy, a weight I couldn't shake off. My mom's voice, tremulous and fraught with disappointment, rang in my ears. "You've changed." Those words cut deeper than any knife, leaving me raw, vulnerable. In an attempt to soothe the turmoil, I opened my mouth to reclaim our moment, but words slipped through my fingers like sand. Instead, I pulled her close. Her warmth soothed me, but the mystery of my own heart echoed loudly in the space between us. "I'll be there in a minute," I whispered. I could see disappointment flicker in her big, trusting eyes, but pressed my lips into a tight smile, fighting the lump building in my throat. Then, a peculiar gust swept through the park. The laughter warped into hushed whispers. I felt it a shiver down my spine. A strange old man, who had been sitting alone on a bench, suddenly stood up. His eyes glinted like shards of glass, darting back and forth. The way he looked at me sent a chill racing through my veins. I wanted to look away, but there was something hauntingly captivating about him. The world around me blurred, the squeals of innocence fading into a distant hum. I felt compelled to watch. He pointed a gnarly finger towards us. You're meant to be together," he rasped, voice low like the crackling of dried leaves. My heart faltered. His words echoed in my mind, meant to be? I could feel Lily shivering beside me. Was he talking about family? About bonds that tied us deeper than blood? Then, without even a moment's notice, he turned and walked off, blending into the backdrop of swirling colors and sounds. I glanced at Lily, heart racing. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, yet she looked confused, innocent to the weight of his words. She shrugged, still hopeful, but in that moment, a question hung heavily in the air. Was I the one meant to protect her, or was there something larger at play? I felt the tension strangle me, webs of secrets wrapping tightly around my chest. There was more to it. But what? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The park felt even more alive in that moment, laughter washing over me like a paradoxical tide that threatened to drown my sinking spirit. Lily was still pulling me toward the jungle gym, her excitement palpable as she tugged at my hand, but I was paralyzed by thoughts that churned like a storm in my mind. What did he mean? I mused silently, watching children chase each other. They didn't see the world in the complicated shades I did. They only knew joy and play, freedom wrapped in endless possibilities. "Come on, please." Her eyes sparkled with hope, but I could sense an undercurrent of confusion mirrored in her features. The simple act of playing felt monumental, a mountain of expectations and insecurities blocking my ascent. Taking a deep breath, I finally relented, squeezing her hand. "Okay, let us play." Her smile unfurled like a bloom in spring. Together, we stepped toward the structure, its plastic surfaces brilliant against the azure sky, beckoning us into its embrace. But as I climbed, I felt a gnawing pull in my heart, the realization that a rift had formed between me and this happiness. The rusted chains held stronger than I ever could. Every swing of the pendulum felt like a growing distance from my sister's laughter, faces of friends I had drifted apart from, and the whisper of the uncertainty that encroached upon my home life. I pushed down the worry. Today was not about me, but about Lily. With every laugh she let out as she swung high, I found a thread of connection that momentarily bridged the chasm between us. A soft breeze blew through, brushing my hair back, as though someone was keeping watch. I closed my eyes for a moment, inhaling the sweet scent of sun-warmed grass and childhood. But the weight on my chest didn't dissipate, nor did the unsettling words from the old man. "You're meant to be together." What if he was right? What was resting on my shoulders? After a while, we collapsed onto the grass, breathless and thoroughly exhausted, but my mind kept racing, still caught in a web of anxiety. We lay side by side, staring up at the clouds morphing into shapes and creatures, and for a brief moment, I let myself forget the noises, all the pressures that buried me. "Look!" Lily squealed, pointing up. "That one looks like a unicorn." "More like a dragon to me," I teased, a grin breaking the tension around my heart. She giggled, and for a flickering second, everything seemed bright, untouched by worries. But then her innocent joy cracked through the thin veneer of my facade. "Will we always be together?" Her voice was barely a whisper, caught on the wind between us. The question, so simple yet so profound, struck like lightning, igniting a fear deep within me. As I turned to her, words of reassurance tangled on my tongue. "Of course," I began, but my voice trembled, uncertainty sneaking in. "Always," but I wasn't sure. Before I could dig deeper into my thoughts, a sudden commotion erupted at the other end of the park, shattering our bubble. A crowd of parents had gathered near a cluster of trees, hushed murmurs bubbling into a current of shock. I could see a woman clutching a child close to her chest, face pallid, eyes wide with panic. "What's happening?" Lily asked, her small fingers clutching my sleeve, worry flaring in her innocent gaze. "I don't know, Lil," I replied, my heart racing. "Let us go check it out." The closer we got, the more that anxious pit in my stomach twisted. As we neared, I saw the lurking shadows, two boys arguing, hostility sparking as one shoved the other, sending him sprawling to the ground. The moment hung heavy, the surrounding adults unsure whether they should intervene or wait for the storm to settle. As I pushed my way through, I caught sight of the boy on the ground. Panic surged through me, he looked so familiar. The face twisted with pain mirrored the younger version of my own brother, all youthful joy darkened by bruising despair. He was another reminder of the laughter that once filled our home, now replaced by silence. At that moment, I felt the threads of fate tightening again. I turned back to Lily. She was looking up at me, her wide eyes reflecting all the fear she absorbed from the chaos. "Is he going to be okay?" she whispered, concern lacing her words like the vibrancy of innocence haunted by uncertainty. My heart sank, and the tussle of emotions swirled dangerously. "I hope so," I murmured back, but doubt clawed at the edges of my resolve. Lily's small fingers intertwined with mine, and I squeezed them, trying to convey what I couldn't articulate. But as I watched the scene unfold, a chilling realization washed over me: what would happen if I couldn't protect the ones I loved? The burden shimmered like a dark veil, anything but simple. Suddenly, the old man's words echoed again. Were we truly meant to be together? Or was this the beginning of an unraveling that could tear us apart? A sea of ambiguity lurked before me, and I felt like I was standing on the edge of something vast and incomprehensible, wondering how I could navigate the tides. Then, the boys' cries pierced the air, pulling me from my thoughts just as the remarkable sound of an approaching siren cut through the park, sharp and insistent. Just when I thought clarity would break through, the world tilted again, and the gravity of the moment cemented my fear. Nothing felt truly safe anymore, not in this moment. "Stay close," I whispered to Lily, pulling her tighter to my side, but the heavy weight of uncertainty loomed larger than before, and silence screamed for answers I wasn't ready to confront. Everything was about to change again, the only certainty being that choices lay before me like a path shrouded in fog. But one thing was clear: I was on the brink of an epiphany, teetering as reality lurked everywhere, unpredictable and unforgiving. The siren blared like a trumpet, announcing urgency to all who stood frozen on the fringes of the scene. Lily tugged at my hand, her little fingers trembling as they sought the warmth of reassurance. My heart raced, commanded by an instinct to shield her from the chaos unfurling before us. I glanced toward the boy again, crumpled on the ground, the tension in his face gnawing at me as I struggled with the duality of my fears and protective instincts. The adults surged forward, faces etched with concern, murmuring comforting words that seemed hollow amidst the chaos. I wanted to step in, to find a way to help out of instinct, out of duty. But fear rooted me to the spot, and all I could do was watch as a flurry of uniforms appeared, the paramedics quickly taking control. Lily clung to me, eyes wide as she observed the unfolding scene. "Are they going to help him?" she implored, innocent faith glimmering in her gaze. The question cut deeper than I expected, a reminder of the fragility we often overlooked while caught in our daily rhythms. "Of course they will, sweetie," I managed to reply, my voice painstakingly steady, even when desperation tightened around my throat. "They know what to do." What I didn't know was whether I could ever be as capable as they were to face emergencies and fears with unyielding resolve. I felt small beside my sister, unable to grasp how I could possibly bridge the chasm between the reality we faced and the safety I so desperately craved for us both. As the medics attended to the boy, I noticed a mother kneeling nearby. Her face was taut with worry, yet she reached out to comfort the child beside her, whispering soft encouragement. I couldn't see the child's face, but the mother's gentle touch ignited something in me. A flicker of kindness, a small remedy in the face of distress, offered warmth to that sinking tide of uncertainty. Then, as if sensing my gaze, the mother looked my way. Her eyes met mine. There was a shared understanding, a fleeting connection that enveloped us both though our worlds felt worlds apart. In that moment, we were united by the same terrifying love, the fierce need to protect those we held dear. The scene began to settle as the boy was carefully lifted onto a stretcher, the murmurs of awed adults turning into whispers of relief and concern. I glanced at Lily, who was now staring at the boy, transfixed by the reality of pain. She was wrestling with understanding the world around her, a process I was all too familiar with. "Will I ever get hurt?" she asked suddenly, her voice trembling like a leaf caught in a storm. "No," I blurted out instinctively. Panic surged at the mere thought of her being in pain. My heart bled for the innocence she was teetering on the brink of losing. It wasn't a question I could answer with confidence. "But if you do, I promise I'll always be there for you, okay?" Her brow furrowed, and she stared into my eyes intently, searching for conviction. "You promise?" "I promise, Lil," I whispered. How could I make a promise I wasn't certain I could keep? The uncertainty struck like thunder within me, oppressive and loud, yet I saw determination in her eyes, the whisper of a bond so precious it shook me to my core. As the paramedics loaded the boy into the ambulance, I noticed a boy watching from the edge of the park, his expression twisted with guilt. He stood uncertainly against the backdrop of chaos, as if the weight of his own actions was far more than he could carry. I could feel the shift of potential in the air, a fragile shifting dance between forgiveness and consequence. Dinner with family later would rarely be about playful exchanges. I'd see the lingering glances exchanged, guarded and conflicted, like pieces of a puzzle framing a picture that wasn't yet whole. Just when I thought clarity would break through, the ambulance doors slid shut, and silence resumed, laden with an unfamiliar heaviness. I could sense a gap of uncertainty widening between myself and Lily, as if the very air we breathed carried the weight of unspoken fears. And then an unexpected phone. vibrated in my pocket, slicing through the tension, and I fumbled to retrieve it. An unknown number flashed, and I hesitated only a heartbeat before answering. Hello? Is this Jace? The voice was familiar yet distant, sliding into the conversation like a shadow. We need to talk about your brother. In a single, fractured moment, the world imploded around me as dread settled in the pit of my stomach. I gripped Lily's hand tighter, my heart racing not just with fear for myself but an overwhelming sense of foreboding. Could I protect the thread of innocence we shared? What might the conversation hold, and what paths might it unfurl before us? Jace? The voice pressed once more, tugging me from the tempest of my thoughts. Yes, it would change everything. Yes, silence would be filled with truth. But in the impending dusk, a haunting truth hung in the air, a question still unanswered: can I shield my loved ones from the darkness threatening to seep into our lives once again? The weight of responsibility began to anchor me, and I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a soft golden light that seemed to wrap itself around us like a tender embrace. I stood frozen in my thoughts, the world around me dimming as the voice on the other end of the line blurred into white noise. The uncertainty gnawed at me, my brother. It was a name tangled in shadows, a memory that flickered just beyond my reach, brimming with implications that set my heart racing and palms clammy with the thought of what the conversation could entail. Jace? The voice again urgent, yet laden with an ineffable sadness. I know it's not the best time, but he needs you. Who is this? I finally managed to choke out, my voice faltering as I wrapped my arms around Lily, feeling her small body press against me, her innocent weight grounding, as if in that moment, she could shield me from the inevitable storm looming ahead. Maddie's friend, Ben. We were at the same place last night. There was an he hesitated, as if the word itself might trigger an avalanche of pain. An incident. Lily shifted in my arms, a small frown creasing her forehead. I could see she sensed my growing disquiet, her gentle curiosity unnerving amidst the backdrop of worry rising like smoke around us. What happened? I urged, my voice barely above a whisper. It's complicated, Jace. I just think you deserve to know the truth. Maddie's not okay. The choices he's made. His voice trailed off, leaving a chasm of uncertainty that fell into the silence of the chilly evening air. We can't just leave him, I murmured to myself, but the weight of his words pressed heavier against my consciousness, reminding me of the distance that had already stretched between us both, years and circumstances that had darkened his path while suffocating mine. What did he do? Where is he? Ben sighed. He's in trouble. It's serious. I can come get you if you can leave now. The urgency gripped me in a vice of fear and resilience, and yet I hesitated, unsure how to incorporate this revelation into Lily's world. I didn't want to strip her of her safety, didn't want to expose her to the sudden unraveling of our precarious happiness. Jace? Ben's voice was a lifeline amidst the turbulence. He needs you. He won't let anyone else in. A tumultuous feeling swirled within me, igniting old memories and forgotten promises, pulling me towards a fissure in my heart that had begun to open again. I faltered, casting a quick glance at Lily, who stood there, oblivious to the storm raging just below the surface of my smile. The last time I'd seen Maddie, he was still the brother I remembered, the one who brought laughter and light into the room. But that brother had been tangled in the chaos of life, and I couldn't reconcile who he had become in my absence. I'll be there, I finally said, summoning resolve. I have to take care of something. Can you stay here with me for a little while longer, Lil? Okay, she replied, though her eyes held a glimmer of doubt. She sensed my struggle, the underlying tension that had shifted between us. Lily tugged gently on my shirt, bringing me back to the present. Can we see the boy in the hospital? He was brave, right? Her innocence fractured my heart anew. Brave, yes, I whispered, crouching down to meet her gaze. He is very brave. But sometimes, brave can mean saying goodbye to the things we thought would always stay the same. Lily's brow knit as she absorbed my words. I felt her disappointment drape over us like a heavy blanket, but there was still something in her eyes, a soft glint of understanding, perhaps. Ben texted me details of where to meet him. As I stood to leave, the park around us pulsed with life. Lilies swayed in a gentle breeze, laughter danced on the wind, and children's giggles flared up, igniting sparks of hope amidst the uncertainty. It reminded me that even in darkness, light could seep through the cracks, finding a way to weave gentle threads of connection. With one last glance at the now quiet ambulance, I felt a jolt of determination rise within me. Perhaps the simplest moments could bloom unexpectedly in the face of despair. I straightened up, took Lily's hand in mine, and began walking, each step an echo of my resolve. But just as I was about to turn to her, to lay enough affection on her that it might insulate us both against the storm, another vibration disrupted my thoughts. Another message. A sense of dread filled my lungs as I read the words. Just found out Maddie's not in the hospital, he's gone. The world tilted on its axis. The sidewalk shimmered in front of us, a moment before my vision blurred, and the air thickened. Jace? Lily's voice sliced through the turmoil, her tiny fingers reaching up to cup my face, pulling me back into the now. Yeah, Lil? My voice cracked as I struggled to breathe against the tidal wave of emotions crashing over me. Are we still gonna help the boy? Her innocence, that unwavering belief in good, challenged the whirlpool of despair that threatened to pull me under. And in that moment, I realized that whether it was a boy in trouble or a brother lost to choices unseen, my role was not to shield her from all darkness but to navigate through it together, to show her that even in despair, love existed in its purest form, always awaiting a chance to grow anew. Of course we will, I whispered, pulling her closer as we took a shaky step forward into the unknown. Little did I know then that this moment would reveal bonds stronger than despair, the threads that would connect us in ways I had never imagined, even as a deeper darkness loomed just ahead, ready to pull us into its depths. The wind had picked up as we ventured toward the meeting point, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and the faint echo of laughter from the park. I glanced down at Lily, her small figure illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights, and felt a pang of longing for the simple moments we had shared, uncomplicated by fear or uncertainty. Yet today, the universe seemed to conspire against us, unraveling the delicate thread of peace I had tried so desperately to weave around our lives. Ben greeted us with an earnestness that softened the sharp edges of my mounting dread. He wore a worried expression, the kind that settled heavily on his brow, contrasting sharply against his relaxed demeanor just moments before on the phone. "Thank you for coming," he began, but no further words followed. He simply nodded once, indicating we should follow him. As we walked, Lily's small hand in mine felt like a tether to everything good and right. She hummed softly, a tune that wrapped around us like a security blanket, somehow managing to ease the tension swirling inside me. She didn't fully understand the gravity of the situation. How could she? Her world was vibrant and brimming with possibilities, a world I longed to preserve. Even while grappling with the bitter truth of what my brother faced, Ben led us into a narrow alley where the air turned heavy with regret and despair. It felt like stepping into a different reality, one where shadows loomed darker than I had anticipated. "I'll make sure she's okay," I murmured to myself, feeling the reassuring grip of Lily's hand. "That's a good thing to do," she said with the kind of innocent belief that could vanquish the heaviest of clouds. Ben paused in front of a door marked with peeling paint. "This is it. Just be prepared." His hesitance echoed my own apprehensions. Did I really believe I could reach Maddie? With a deep breath, I opened the door, and the scene beyond shattered the last remnants of my resolve. Inside, I was met by a room dimly lit, filled with people who looked as lost as Maddie. The starkness of reality hit like a cold wave, eroding the remnants of love and laughter I had carried with me. A girl, perhaps older than me, sat softly crying on a worn-out couch. She looked up, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears, and in them, I saw a reflection of my own soul, tired, seeking, desperate. "Is he here?" she whimpered, her voice breaking the unsettling silence around us. His friend, Ben confirmed gently, drawing her attention to me. Jace is his brother. The girl blinked, and a semblance of recognition crossed her face. You're the one he talked about, she said, wiping her cheeks. He trusted you. He thought you'd come. But deep within me, I felt an immensity of doubt. How could I bear that weight? How could I be the beacon when I had spent so much time adrift? Lily tugged my shirt, urging me onward. Do you think he is okay? She asked quietly, her tone imbued with unwavering trust. I knelt down, meeting her wide, innocent eyes. I hope so, Lil. Everyone is brave in their own way, I replied, trying to embody the belief that had been reignited by her unshakable faith. The girl, still watching me, spoke again. He has been in trouble. Please, if he is still, you have to find him. Every part of my being cried out against the prospect of failure. What if I couldn't bring him back? Maddie wouldn't let anyone else help him, but maybe he will let you in, Ben added softly, a hint of encouragement in his voice. Together, we moved further into the dimly lit space, past the thrumming sounds of despair echoing from every corner. The air lay thick with untold stories of struggle, pain, and lost hopes. I glanced back at Lily, who was carefully inspecting a large mural on the wall, a beautiful collage of colors clashing starkly with the dullness around it. The mixture of hope and grief filled my heart, then I noticed a handprint smudged in a corner of that very mural. Instinctively, I reached out to touch it, tracing the outline with my fingertips. And as I did, a sudden memory engulfed me, a fleeting moment from our childhood, a magic trick Maddie had concocted, using his own hands as the centerpiece, somehow always finding ways to leave us in awe of his youthful creativity. Maddie's gone, my mind whispered, the words falling heavily against my resolve, but then Lily squeezed my hand just a little tighter. It was a squeeze spurred by her naive belief in a world that always sought to heal. We have to find him. We need to help him. Her certainty lit a fire inside me, urging me toward the direction my heart trembled to follow. That I stood up suddenly, higher than I imagined I could. Where could he have gone? I implored, turning to Ben and the girl. We have to look for him. With each passing moment, I felt the intricate web of our lives tightening around us, a web woven through shared laughter and heartbreak, where hope glimmered just out of reach. The girl glanced at me, her eyes pleading. He may be at the old warehouse by the river. He used to go there when things got tough. In that moment, the weight of the world settled squarely on my shoulders, and just as doubt threatened to drag me under, I felt a surge of purpose fill my heart, as if the very fibers of my being harmonized to Lily's unwavering belief. Let us go, I hurriedly said. We rushed out, determination propelling us forward into the night. And just as we stepped into the moonlit street, my phone buzzed again, another message, another clue that unfurled. Be careful. Maddie isn't alone. My breath caught, a cold shiver coursing through me. I had never fully grasped just how dark his struggles truly were. Jace? Ben called out, concern evident in his voice as he noticed the change in my demeanor. What's wrong? My heart raced as I considered the implications of that last message. What had my brother gotten himself into? Nothing, let us go, I answered, though layers of fear and worry coiled within me, tightening as we plunged deeper into the unknown. I led the group into the night, a quiet promise rooted in my heart. No matter how arduous the road ahead, I would find him. Little did I know, though, that there were shadows lurking, and the night was far from over. Voices echoed behind us as we chose to chase the light, unaware of the darkness that loomed ominously closer, setting the stage for a revelation that would change everything, forcing me to confront fears more harrowing than I had ever imagined. As the chill of the night wrapped around us and our hurried footsteps echoed against the pavement, an unsettling energy began to pulse through the air. I clutched Lily's hand tighter, urgency coursing through my veins. The warehouse by the river, I muttered, holding the thought close like a prayer. If Maddie truly was there, I needed to act swiftly, but with every ounce of determination came a thick undercurrent of fear. Ben walked beside me, glancing periodically at my furrowed brow, his expression increasingly anxious. The girl from the dim room trailed close behind, her quiet sobs now replaced with a determined stillness, as if she too understood the gravity of the moment. As we neared the intersection, the night shimmered around us, a stark contrast to the emotions churning within. Suddenly, the ambience of laughter and chatter from a nearby street corner pierced through our bubble of desperation. A group of teenagers stood huddled together, their laughter light and careless. It was a world away from where we were headed, a divergence that punctured my heart with both longing and sorrow. How could they be so filled with joy when the weight of burden and fear felt insurmountable? It was Lily who broke my reverie. "Can we go say hi?" she asked wistfully, pointing to their vibrant energy. Her innocent gaze illuminated a path that I had nearly forgotten the importance of finding joy amid darkness. "Not now, sweetie. We have to focus," I replied softly, my own resolve wavering as I glanced at her hopeful eyes. Those eyes so full of unwavering trust in me, in the goodness of the world, reminded me of everything I was fighting for. With a deep breath, I pressed forward, the warehouse looming large as we approached. My heart drummed a wild rhythm against my ribcage, each step resonating with the extent of my fears. I was filled with questions. Would he be there? Would I even recognize him? As we rounded the corner, I spotted the silhouette of the warehouse, a shadowy figure against the frosty backdrop. It stood isolated, foreboding, as if guarding its secrets. The windows were dark, but the dim light leaking through a side door illuminated the gravel patch beneath our feet, a stark beacon in this desolation that I hesitated, the weight of uncertainty pressing heavily on my chest. "Are we sure about this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The reality of what lay ahead crept into my thoughts, and anxiety threatened to unravel the thread of hope I had clung to since this journey began. "I believe Maddie would want us to find him," Ben responded earnestly, placing a hand on my shoulder. His grip was steady, a reminder that I wasn't alone. The girl nodded, her eyes shimmering with a mixture of grief and hope. "He needs to see that someone cares. He just needs a push in the right direction." So, with a shared resolve, we stepped closer. In that moment, as I felt Lily's small fingers lace through mine, I drew strength from her innocence, from our irreplaceable bond. There was a warmth in the pit of my gut, urging me on, igniting courage where doubt dwelled. Pushing the door open, I was met with a rush of cold air and the scent of damp concrete. Inside, shadows danced under the flickering fluorescent lights. The cavernous space felt abandoned, yet carried echoes of laughter and heartbreak, stories carved into its walls. "Maddie!" I called out, my voice reverberating amidst the stillness. Silence, each second stretched out painfully, the absence of sound amplifying my unease. I exchanged glances with Ben and the girl, whose shared concern mirrored my own. And then, just as I began to lose hope, a muffled sound broke through a struggling moan that echoed from the far end of the warehouse. "This way!" I shouted, driving forward with newfound urgency. As we approached the sound, the light grew dimmer. My heart pounding in my ears, I quickened my pace, in desperate pursuit of my brother. Then I saw him. Maddie sat hunched against a wall, his form illuminated in a harsh light spilling from an overhead bulb, fragile and worn like a ghost from our past. He looked different, hollowed and worn, the bright spark of his spirit obscured by shadows of despair. "Maddie!" I shouted again, this time louder, an exclamation that mixed relief with terror. What had happened to him? But just as I rushed toward him, as if propelled by an invisible force, I caught a glimpse of movement in the corner of my eye. A figure emerged from the shadows, an unexpected presence that felt like a heavy stone settling in the pit of my stomach. "Who are you?" The stranger barked, stepping into the light as I froze in disbelief, instinctively pulling Lily closer to me. The figure was older, his demeanor intimidating, a tangible sense of danger radiating from him. "You shouldn't be here, not now," he warned, casting a wary glance at Maddie, who remained eyes locked on the ground. "Maddie, we're here to help you," I called out, desperate not to let fear take hold of me. "Please, let us through." But as he looked up, something changed in Maddie's eyes, a flicker of recognition shadowed by a conflict I couldn't fathom. For an endless moment, the warehouse seemed to hold its breath, the weight of choices hanging heavily in the air, and then, with a trembling resolve, Maddie looked straight into mine, an unspoken plea blooming between us, thick with desperation and an unmistakable current of fear. "Leave," he whispered, his voice fragile yet firm. "You shouldn't have come." The heart-wrenching revelation crashed over me like a wave. What battles raged within his soul, that he would push us away while desperately needing us close? Before I could respond, the stranger took a step forward, his menacing figure eclipsing my view of Maddie once more. "Just go!" Maddie yelled, his fear erupting into anger as if he could shield us from some unseen horror. I stood frozen, gripping Lily tightly. Every instinct told me to protect our small sanctuary, to shield us both from this dark world, but my heart struggled against the urge to flee. Would I run away, or stand with Maddie against this shadow? In that breathless instant, I felt the fabric of our shared history being torn. Fate had found us, but at what cost? Would I lose Maddie now, standing at the edge of our crossroads, trapped by fear and circumstance, and in that swirling abyss of uncertainty? A single thought began to crystallize amidst the chaos: I may have come to save Maddie, but perhaps it was with every step that I needed saving too. One thing was clear: this night was far from over, and as the echoes of dogged reality loomed closer, the weight of impending decisions pressed down heavier than I ever expected. The warehouse felt like a minefield of uncertainty, each breath I took heavy with the stakes that surrounded us. I took a tentative step forward, but the figure blocking my view of Maddie seemed to expand, swallowing the hope that flickered in my chest. "Please, just let us talk to him," I implored, the desperation in my voice barely masking the fear crawling up my spine. The stranger's eyes narrowed as if sizing us up, calculating his next move, while Maddie sat mutely by, an entirely different universe away. "Talking won't help him," the stranger replied, voice gruff, cold like the hovering air. "Leave him be. It's for the best." Maddie's eyes finally flickered up to mine, and for a moment, that raw connection ignited the floor beneath me. I could see the battle raging within him, the longing for connection mixed with the looming shadows of whatever dark path he had been walking. I took a step closer, heart pounding with each breath. "Maddie. Please, you need us. I need you." My voice echoed against the concrete walls. "Let us help." For a fleeting moment, a shred of hope ignited in his eyes, but it was quickly extinguished by that unyielding shadow. "You don't understand. You can't help," he choked out, each word wrapped in layers of pain. "I don't want you to see this, to see me like this." And then, at the edge of my vision, I caught a glimpse of Lily, small and brave, clutching the hem of my shirt as if she were tethering me back from an abyss. Her innocent heart hadn't yet been tarnished by the world's cruelties, and I was determined not to let it be. I knelt down, meeting her earnest gaze. "It's okay, Lily. We're going to be fine." I tried to assure her, but my voice wavered on the brink of uncertainty. The greater danger overshadowed our fragile moment, and I couldn't let fear fracture this small spark of connection. The stranger shifted slightly, revealing a small glimmer of silver tucked away from view. My heart raced as realization struck: there was more to him than just a mere obstruction. An ominous dread laced through the air, thick enough to taste, reminding me that this was no ordinary confrontation. Maddie's shoulders slumped at my insistence, the flicker of defiance in his eyes warring against resignation. "It's too late for me. You should go," he insisted, voice barely above a whisper, but it hit like a hammer against the walls of my own heart. His words were meant to shield me from pain, but they instead tore at the very fabric of my hope. "No," I protested, my voice an unyielding thread pulling us back from despair. "We're not leaving you here, Maddie. Not now. Not ever." The stranger moved forward, steel glinting in the inadequate light. "You need to understand you're not welcome here." I felt a surge of courage, igniting my soul against the tide of darkness looming. We came to find Maddie, and we won't walk away from him again. Not while he can still fight. In that moment, something shifted, a radiant spark igniting within Maddie's hollowed form like a candle casting away the shadows that tried to envelop him. He looked up at me, and I saw the glint of vulnerability paired with an unexpected defiance. Don't you get it? His voice rose, trembling with emotion. They won't let you go. They won't let any of us go. Lily, sensing the tension, pulled on my sleeve. Can I help, please? Her voice was small yet unwavering. The purity in her plea cut through the heaviness, making the world around us feel just a little softer. With a flicker of surprise, the stranger's gaze shifted to Lily, and for a heartbeat, he looked almost human, vulnerable, flawed, and eerily familiar. But as quickly as he faltered, he regained his grim hold, like a wall sealing his humanity behind layers of cold indifference. Stay out of this, kid, he growled, raising the small blade defiantly, but it was Maddie who caught my attention. His brow furrowed, an emotion flickering behind those haunted eyes that meant more than fear. It was a plea for understanding. Lily, Maddie called out, his voice breaking slightly as he summoned every ounce of strength. You don't know what you asking. You don't understand. But I want to help you. She echoed, pure innocence threading through her determination. You need someone to take care of you. Suddenly, the tension suspended in the air began to warp, a fragile thread taut enough to snap, but woven from unexpected kindness. Her brave sentiment radiated warmth, a soft light breaking through the darkness as the stranger hesitated, caught off guard by her innocent resolve. Maddie's conflicted gaze turned from the stranger to me, a moment of shared understanding swirling in the charged atmosphere. I took a small step toward him, my heart treading a fragile line between fear and hope. We're family, Maddie. Whatever this is, we face it together. The stranger's breath caught in his throat, the barrier he had erected quivering under the weight of Lily's candid innocence. I could see the crack in his armor, just as I could feel the pull of the shadows behind him, thrumming in pursuit of Maddie's spirit. Maddie staggered to his feet, an ethereal presence flickering to life in his eyes. Don't let him take you down, he spoke, the connection of our shared histories melding into a fragile force of defiance. Fight, no matter what. But just as I reached for Maddie, the stranger's grip hardened, the glint of silver wielding danger that eclipsed our moments of connection. Enough! He barked, looming like a specter of despair. There was menace in his voice, and behind him, the shadows stirred restlessly. Run! Maddie shouted, urgency equivalent to the pounding of my own heart. Every muscle in my body screamed to stay, to fight, but the flames of desperation lashed against reason. With no time to process, I grabbed Lily's hand and tugged her along, a trail of warmth flickering in our retreat beneath the mechanical hum of fluorescent lights. Stay close. I urged, heart racing as Maddie's heart-wrenching gaze bore into mine, pleading for something I couldn't quite decipher. As we burst out of the warehouse into the night air, I could still sense the heaviness clinging to us, thick with unfinished words and unresolved feelings left simmering under a boiling surface. Maddie! I called one last time, desperation lacing my plea, but the darkness swallowed his silhouette, leaving us with a lingering ache against the light of the distant street lamps. And then, just as the weight settled in, I felt the ground tremble beneath our feet, a staggering jolt that sent a shiver through my core. I glanced back, dread washing over me as I realized this was only the beginning, not an end, but an awakening of darkness that threatened to pull everything we loved into its depths. With the echo of Maddie's struggle haunting me like a ghost, we stood far from the threshold of our shared fate, but as I pulled Lily close, I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever battle awaited was now more intertwined with our story than I ever anticipated. This isn't over, I whispered to the night, a sad vow that hung heavy in the air as the darkness spun its web around us, holding the promise of uncertainty and something far greater. As we stood outside the warehouse, the weight of our escape pressed down on my chest. The night air outside felt foreign, each breath a reminder of the moment we had just left behind, the desperation, the shadows, and Maddie, trapped in the web of his own pain. Lily clutched my hand tightly, her small fingers wrapping around mine like a lifeline, and I couldn't shake the feeling that our journey was only beginning. "Where do we go now?" she asked, her voice trembling as she peered up at me, her innocence stark against the darkness that loomed in every corner. I swallowed hard, the question echoing in my mind. I had no answers, only the gnawing pangs of uncertainty that threatened to overwhelm me. "We need to regroup, find a place where we can think," I managed to reply, feeling the world spin precariously away from my grasp. As we walked, I could hear the distant sirens wailing, cutting through the heavy silence of the night. It was a reminder that danger lingered just beyond our reach. My thoughts drifted to Matty, his weighty gaze fixed on me, imploring me to fight for him. But what did that even mean? I had barely kept Lily safe, how could I now wade into the murky waters of whatever entangled Matty? A sudden noise drew my attention, a gentle rustle from a nearby alley. My heart leapt into my throat, instinct screaming for caution as I prepared to shield Lily. But instead of more danger, an unexpected figure emerged, an older woman, her hair silver and wild, eyes keen as they narrowed on us. "Come here, dear ones," she beckoned, her voice warm like a hearth on a winter night. "You look lost." Without thinking, I glanced at Lily, who seemed to sense the comfort in the stranger's demeanor. I stepped forward, cautiously crossing the space that separated us, unsure if following her would be a reprieve or an even deeper dive into uncertainty. The woman's eyes seemed to sparkle in the dark shadows, filled with an extraordinary blend of wisdom and sadness. "You carry burdens heavier than your little body should have to bear," she said softly, her gaze shifting between the two of us. "I can help." Something within me stirred, a flicker of hope, tentative yet impossibly enticing. "How?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She gestured for us to follow her into the warmth of a modest, cluttered building. There was something magical about the way the light spilled from behind her, illuminating the path just enough to ease the weight of doubt that had settled. Once inside, the odor of spices and warm bread enveloped us, a stark contrast to the cold bitterness outside. The woman led us to a small kitchen area where a pot simmered on the stove, sending tendrils of steam curling into the air. "Sit down, and I'll make you something to eat," she suggested, her hands moving deftly as she began to prepare a meal. I felt a mix of awe and comfort. The chaos of the past hour weighed heavily on my mind, yet this simple act of kindness offered a momentary escape. Lily hopped onto a nearby stool, her eyes widening as she watched the woman's graceful movements. "Thank you," I managed to say, still cautious but overwhelmed by gratitude. The warmth of the home filled the cracks in my heart, leaving room for reflection. "But we really need to figure out what to do about Matty," the woman finished for me, her voice heavy with understanding. "He's a part of your fight, isn't he?" "How do you know?" I asked, thrown off balance by her perceptiveness. "Child," she replied, glancing over her shoulder as she stirred the pot, "there are paths in this world that are invisible to many. But you, dear one, see them. Many people are tangled in their own shadows. It can be hard to turn back once you've taken a certain step." I could feel a lump rise in my throat. Her words were heavy with truth, ringing alarmingly close to the reality of Matty's situation. "Can you help him?" I asked, desperation pouring from my heart. The woman turned to face me fully, her eyes piercing. "Only if he wishes for the light, sweet child. But do not lose hope. The light still flickers." Lily leaned over the table, curiosity sparking in her eyes. "Can we help him want the light?" The woman chuckled softly. "Sometimes, the very act of holding on to hope can spark change in another. But remember, it's also important to care for your own light. You cannot pour from an empty cup." Those words echoed in my mind, a gentle reminder of the burden I had placed on myself. I tarnished the hope I carried by sacrificing my own well-being. I needed strength to help Matty, not just for him, but also for Lily. As the woman continued to prepare our meal, the atmosphere lightened, and I felt something shift within. After a while, I took a deep breath, my resolve crystallizing with clarity. "We need a plan," I said, determination lacing my voice like steel. No matter how impossible it seems, we have to be there for Maddie. We can't leave him behind. The woman nodded, her expression contemplative. The path may seem treacherous, but trust in the bonds you've forged. Those connections can illuminate the way. Just as hope began to settle, the sound of shuffling feet disrupted the warmth. My blood ran cold as a figure emerged from the shadows of the kitchen doorway. It was a man, ruggedly built, with grim eyes that bore an unsettling familiarity. "Your fight might just come to you sooner than anticipated," he said, voice low and gravelly. "They're looking for you." My breath caught in my throat as the meaning behind his words settled like a stone at the pit of my stomach. The darkness we had only just escaped was creeping back, and fear clawed its way into my heart once more. I clasped Lily's hand, refusing to let go, much like my unwillingness to relinquish the hope we had just kindled. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice steady yet tinged with anxiety. "What I am doesn't matter," he replied, stepping closer, shadows playing across his face. "What matters is that you understand you're in this deeper than you know, and it's time to prepare for what lies ahead." I glanced at the woman, her expression one of warning and resolve, then back at him, the weight of his intrusion heavy with meaning. "Prepare for what?" I asked softly, not sure what truth I was ready to face. "Everything you fear is about to break the surface," he said, his voice growing more urgent. "You need to choose your alliances wisely." With that, the air chilled, and the warmth of the kitchen suddenly felt like a distant memory. The uncertainty clawed through me once more, igniting the flames of confusion and dread. But then, holding Lily's small hand, a spark ignited within me again, the fierce determination I felt earlier flickering to life. We were more than shadows in the night. Hope was fragile but still persistent, burning brightly even when under siege, and just as I thought I had found a moment of clarity, I realized as the man stepped back, dark eyes assessing our resolve, that our greatest challenges were only just beginning. The shadows could close in at any moment, but I would protect Lily and, somehow, reach for Maddie trapped in his own chaos. The stakes were raised, and as I took a deep breath, I could feel the impending storm stir around us. "This isn't over," I vowed once more, deep in my heart. No matter how tangled our paths became, I was ready to fight tooth and nail to save Maddie, to reclaim our light from the shadows threatening to swallow it whole. The man lingered in the doorway, presence heavy with portent. I felt the air around us thicken, as if time itself momentarily paused to let the gravity of his words sink in. His eyes roamed over me and Lily, assessing and weighing, before he finally spoke again. "You must make a choice," he said, his tone low, heavy like iron. "Every moment counts. They are close, much closer than you realize." "What do you mean?" I asked, alarm flaring within me. "Who's looking for us?" He hesitated, and in that brief silence, the shadows seemed to grow longer, swelling with unseen dangers. "Those who feed off despair," he finally replied, his jaw tensing. "And they're not just after you. They want Maddie too." It felt like the floor had dropped beneath my feet. I swallowed hard, my mind racing at the implications. "Why?" "Because he's important," he said, his eyes narrowing as though he were scrutinizing both my resolve and my vulnerability. "He's part of something bigger, a struggle on a scale you can't yet understand. You need to decide, will you aid him, or will you turn back?" "Turning back isn't an option," I said fiercely, clutching Lily's hand tighter, grounding myself in her presence. "We can't abandon him. Not again." For a fleeting moment, I caught a glimmer of something in the man's hardened face, a flicker of approval, perhaps. But it faded, replaced by urgency. "Then you must be ready. You'll need allies, and you'll need information. Stay close to the shadows, and more importantly, stay together." He paused, letting the words linger like mist. I could feel the quiet weight of them settle over me, raw and urgent. "Where do I find these allies?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. Look for those who have also been touched by shadows, he said, drawing back into the dimness of the doorway. Trust your instincts, they will guide you to the ones who can light your path. With that, he slipped away into the night, leaving us alone once more in the kitchen, warmth and chaos contrasting so vividly. I turned to Lily, who now wore a troubled expression, her innocence marred by the harsh realities we faced. Do you think we'll find him? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as if saying it too loudly would summon the worst of our fears. I don't know, I replied honestly, kneeling down to meet her gaze. But we have to try. Maddie is our friend. We can't let what happened before stop us from helping him now. She nodded, though uncertainty hung around her like a shroud. I felt it too, a gnawing fear that nestled deep within my gut, an ever-present specter whispering that we were entering a battle unprepared. The woman, who had been quietly observing, swept over, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. Hope can be a compass when the way seems lost. Hold on to it, and let it guide you. Her words were like a balm on my fraying edges, yet the shadows loomed ever larger. As we shared a simple meal, made exquisite by the warmth of companionship, I could not shake the gnawing worry that time was slipping away. Each tick of the clock was a reminder that Maddie was still out there, caught in whatever dark undertone had ensnared him. After we ate, I felt a swell of gratitude for this woman who had given us refuge, but questions still simmered inside me. Have you seen Maddie? I asked, my voice trembling with urgency. She sighed deeply, a reflection of the weight she carried. In some ways, yes. In others, no. The paths of souls don't always overlap as easily as we hope. I watched her as she spoke, searching for the threads binding her wisdom to our plight. What do you mean? Can you help guide us to him? All I can offer is a truth, she said, leaning closer. There are places where the shadows congregate, where lost souls find solace, even if their paths cross with danger. You must seek out the edges, places forgotten by light. There, you may discover more than you bargained for. Lily tugged my sleeve gently. We'll have to be brave, one Tiwi. Braver than we've ever been, I confirmed, guilt pulsing through my chest. I had asked Maddie to chase the light, to stay with us, but I could not forget the darker current pulling him under. Stay together, the woman urged, her voice calm but serious, and remember you're stronger than the fear that seeks to break you apart. Just as I inhaled deeply, preparing to reassure Lily that we would find a way, a loud crash echoed from the street outside. My body tensed instinctively. It shattered the thin veneer of calm that had settled over us and sent adrenaline coursing through my veins. What was that? Lily whispered, eyes wide and anxious. I don't know, I replied, rising to my feet, my heart racing. But we need to be ready to run, just in case. But as I turned to check the window, movement flashed in the periphery of my vision, and I caught sight of the man we had just spoken with. He was no longer alone. A group of rough-looking figures had emerged from the shadows, their faces obscured but intentions clear. Time stretched, heartbeats quickened, and I knew in that moment our sanctuary was at risk. They had found us, and something dark loomed on the horizon, ready to pounce. Stay behind me, I urged Lily, feeling the adrenaline surge as the sounds from the street grew louder, shadows converging around our feeble sanctuary. My grip tightened around Lily's hand as the curtain of night began to draw closer, swallowing our hopes in its depths. The fight was only beginning, and the threat that loomed ahead threatened to engulf every candle of hope I had. With Maddie in peril, every choice we made from this point forward would echo in the depths of my heart, a life or death struggle where the shadows sought to claim us once more. And it dawned on me, we were becoming entangled in a web that could either ensnare us or lead us closer to the very light we sought. The weight of uncertainty hung heavily as I stood, locking eyes with the dark figures outside. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, a reminder that the perils we sought to escape were only just beginning their vicious dance. I turned back to Lily, her innocence piercing through the haze of dread that cloaked the room. Stay close to me, I reminded her, my voice steady despite the tremors of fear coursing through my body. She nodded, the determination in her gaze reflecting the innocence and bravery she possessed, a mixture I was desperate to protect. The door creaked ominously as one of the figures approached, their shadow stretching across the threshold like a specter eager to claim its due. "We know you're in there," a gruff voice called, jagged with a rough edge. "Come out quietly, and we won't have to make this messy." I glanced around the room, searching for a plan, something to shield us from the storm that was brewing outside. A corner of my mind screamed to grab Lily and flee down the back exit, but I pushed it down. I couldn't run, not when Maddie still needed saving. The woman, who had been so compassionate just moments before, stood as still as a statue, her expression shifting from concern to defiance. "You are trespassing," she declared, her voice firm, cutting through the tension like a warm blade through ice. "You have no right here. Step aside, old woman," another shadow scoffed. "This is none of your business. We just want the boys." "Boys?" I echoed, my heart snagging on the fear that clutched at my throat. Did they mean Maddie? Were they the ones who sought him out, trailing him like wolves? "You need to leave us alone." A collective snicker rose up from the shadows, filled with dark amusement. It echoed off the walls with a chilling resonance. "Oh, we know all about you, kid," the first voice said, creeping closer. "Your brother's in deep trouble, and it's time he faced the consequences." That statement landed heavy, a punch to the gut that reverberated through my entire being. I felt a surge of protectiveness crest through me, overwhelming the fear that threatened to paralyze me. I couldn't let them get Maddie. Not again. "Please, just let him go," I shouted, stepping forward even as Lily pressed behind me. A spark of courage ignited. There had to be some way to turn this around. "Whatever he has done, I'll help him make it right." The shadows shifted, taken aback by my assertion. In that moment of hesitation, I seized the opportunity, adrenaline pushing my feet forward as I moved to block their advance. "You don't want to hurt him. Believe me, we don't need to waste our time on you," the leader sneered, raising a hand that hinted at something hidden at his side, a weapon. My heart sank, and instincts kicked in. "Get back," I hissed, positioning myself between him and Lily, my small frame embellished by fierce determination. The dim light from the kitchen illuminated the tension, creating a veritable stage for our confrontation. And just like that, I recognized a profound shift. A choice unfolded before me, the promise of light flickering within the suffocating darkness. "You think you can protect him?" He stepped closer, the bravado loud enough to choke the space between us. "But I wasn't going down without a fight. Maddie is family." I shot back, voice fierce yet wavering on the edge of desperation. "And I won't let you take him back into the shadows." "But you can't save him," he retorted, a snarl inching at the edges. "He's not the same boy you remember anymore. Trust me, he's going to drag you down, maybe even kill you." In that moment, clarity struck. I could feel the echoes of Maddie's struggle. The shadows that enveloped him were creeping in around me now, threatening to consume everything I loved. But I wouldn't succumb. Not today. "Then let us choose," I asserted, finding resolve deep within. "Let us be the light in his darkness." A low laugh escaped the figure, sharp and serrated. "You're foolish, boy." He moved, positioning himself for the attack, but the warmth of Lily's hand in mine steadied me. The girl beside us took a step forward, rising to the challenge like a secret weapon of light. "Stop it!" Lily shouted suddenly, her small voice rising above the din. My heart skipped. Were those the words of a child or the wisdom of an untarnished spirit? "You can't take him. He has people who care about him." That raw earnestness sent a ripple through the shadows. The figure conspiring against us faltered, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face as the purity of Lily's conviction struck a chord. Stepping into the light a step forward, both brave and innocent, her words bore right through the dark. "Maddie needs help. Just like everyone else. Please don't take him." The shadows hesitated. In that single moment of vulnerability, I sensed everything was teetering on the precipice. The delicate threads of fear and hope wove around us, and I turned to the woman, the one who had taken us in. "Can you help us?" I implored, turning my head, begging for a sign in the swirling chaos around us. With a steady gaze, she nodded, the intensity of her spirit igniting a long-dormant courage within me. "Together, we can push back the darkness." And just like that, the room shifted with hearts intertwining. We rallied together, the struggling memories of our bonds, unbreakable threads of love binding us against the encroaching shadows. "Now!" the woman shouted, her voice clear and unyielding. Without thought, I lunged forward, my heart pounding in my ears. A surge of movement drew my focus as we boldly united, solidifying our stand against the dark figures threatening to engulf us. Yet in an awful surge, the dark figure lunged forward, ready to take what he sought, a blanketed scoop of despair intent on claiming its prize. But we weren't standing alone, we were a patchwork of light and determination, of love that burned brighter than any fear. In that moment, amidst the uncertainty and chaos, a vivid pulse of connection thrummed between us. The fight that had begun to unravel finally ignited, a fiery declaration lanced through the air. "We are family." Other voices joined in unison, twining around like a song, a hymn of strength against those who would tear the love from our hearts. The shadows backed away as light pushed through, resonating with every beat of our hearts. We couldn't save Maddie from the darkness alone, but together, we could show him the way, piece by piece. As the ground beneath us trembled in the aftermath, stealing against the shadows, a single thought emerged, swelling deep within: no battle was fought in isolation. We could brave any storm if we stood together. And just as the malevolent presence began to recede, I knew with certainty that when faced with the shadows, we rise together resilient, ignited by love, the flame that danced in the heart of darkness. Then, as fear waned and hope surged, I whispered, "Maddie, we're coming for you," my voice a lingering promise that would not break. No matter how winding the road, love would remain our guiding light, binding us through perilous paths, through shadow and storm. And as I turned to the door, drawing Lily closer, I understood our journey was far from over, it had only just begun.